We teamed up on the Master B2B series for one very important reason, to cut through the noise.
It's what we saw in retail. Just talk to Sears and JCPenney and Macy's and all these other big box stores and department stores that are suffering.
The reality is this is a fairly new entrant into the B2B space.
What can practitioners use in the field today? How do they make decisions about the right marketing, the right platform, the right channels to sell on?
Nobody knows all the answers here, so we're going to get to the truth by having the debates.
Welcome everyone to Master B2B, our predictions for 2026 for B2B e-commerce. My name is Brian Beck. I'm here with Andy Hoare, my co-founder and partner in the Master B2B Thought Leadership Series and community of digital leaders throughout B2B. Andy, welcome to our session. It's going to be an exciting one today.
Did you see us at the beginning there? Was that us?
That was us, and yes, we looked a few years younger, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I suppose, at this point. I know, right? We're predicting, who could have predicted this is what we'll look like in 5 years?
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Anyway, folks, we have an action-packed session for us today. And as usual, those of you who have joined us in the past for our predictions, and I think this is year 4 we're doing this, maybe, Andy, something like that. We like to start by calling ourselves out on how we did last year. So did the things that we talked about for 2025, did they in fact come to pass? And here's what we said. So you see here last year's predictions, and at the percentages on the right are what you all thought during our session 1 year ago, whether or not you agreed with us on that prediction or not. So let's talk through these quickly, Andy. Entry-level roles will morph into apprenticeships. Did that happen? What do you think?
Yeah, and I would add the word unpaid in front of it because I think this went even farther than we thought. In the last year, it's become pretty clear that AI is, I don't know, wreaked havoc on the entry-level job market, but it's certainly fundamentally shifted it. And I think it is really hard now for a recent college graduate to get a job because the model already knows. The AI models know what they know, right? So I think apprenticeships might be a generous way of describing it.
Well, the unemployment rate is highest now amongst the new college graduate community. So yes, I think we can agree, and our community agreed last year, and probably would agree this year as well, that this has in fact come to pass. The second one was customer experience will continue to be a hot potato in a card-free world. Who owns it? Who owns it, Andy? 72% said, no one's going to own it. It's still going to be passed around. Do we think this has happened and consistent with our prediction?
Well, my answer is yes. I think it will continue to be passed around. Everybody owns it, nobody owns it. But what do you think?
Absolutely. I think, we asked this question in our roundtables, our summit earlier in the year. It's the who owns the digital customer experience, who owns e-commerce. It again, I think is still a question. We don't have a prediction on this one specifically for this year, but I think we can probably revisit this for 2027. The next one was analytics will reassert its importance in B2B in 2025. I think this has completely happened. This is something that all we heard throughout the year, that analytics is a top priority. We saw it in our survey results and our polls as a top priority area across our practitioner community. What do you think?
We got it right, and you're right. It was quantitatively proven out by the roundtable polling that we did through the year, multiple different roundtables, so statistically significant.
The next one was that generative AI tools will get B2B executives 70% of the way to solving a problem. I think we are completely wrong. Gen AI is still, you may disagree with me, Andy, but and our audience disagreed with us, but I don't think we're close to 70% yet. Are you?
We aren't, but I think there's an important distinction here. I think most companies are going through maybe an AI metamorphosis. And for companies that have already embraced it, like we did a roundtable yesterday, and one of the attendees said that their company said they have to use it on average 18 times a day.
Wow.
So it's come from an edict on high. They have to use it 18 times a day. Well, that's a company that's more metamorphosizing into an AI-based company. And I'll bet for them, they're getting close to this 70% of solving the problems. Again, it was ambitious then. But for companies that have not embraced AI, oh, absolutely right. No way 70% of the way to the problem.
Where does the eighteen times a day come from? That's sort of arbitrary.
I know, but did they have a meeting to discuss that number? I don't know, but that was the number. It was like 18 times a day. They have to
Okay.
demonstrate they've used it 18 times a
And,
day.
and if you don't use it 18 times, you'll be demoted to an apprentice and an unpaid role. Anyway,
I guess, yeah.
the next one was AI-enabled e-commerce will begin to noticeably steal share from inside sales. I don't think this has happened yet, Andy. What do you think?
I think it should, but it hasn't. Again, we're back to this thing. Digitally mature companies that have already embraced I think they're starting to see that, but for most companies, they're not doing that yet. So this is more commentary on the fact that companies have not warmly embraced AI in a business process sense. They love the idea of it in theory, but in reality, where it's going to change how they work, ooh, that's a lot harder. And these are all predicated on that.
Yeah. The last one is advancements in search will supercharge sales of long tail products. I mean, I think we're learning is that a lot of these search providers, and we have one today to comment as a subject matter expert about, search in general and how AI is changing it. But I think this is happening and that in fact AI is helping to surface these long tail products, and we are seeing some growth here. What do you think?
I do too. And let's ask our special guest this question if we remember to do that.
Yeah, we will. We will. Okay. Well, let's move into our predictions. So as usual, we have Nostradamus here with us to help us along the way. In fact, we have a special guest. Nostradamus is actually here with us today. We'll share more in a moment. But very exciting. So our 2026 predictions is going to be available for download. We do, of course, publish this as a paper as well for everyone here, and you can read more. But we're going to go through each of our predictions today, and folks, we're going to give you an opportunity to vote on whether you agree with us, and we'll reveal those at the end of each of our predictions, whether or not you agreed with our prediction for next year or not. So let's go ahead and pop up our Nostradamus here and go to prediction number one. Prediction one. So Andy, I love that. It's so fun. Yes, thanks, Chris Zimmerman. He's laughing. Yes, yes, I'm laughing too. The B2B search and discovery process will look completely different by the end of 2026. Completely different. Wow, what does that mean, Andy? So what's going on? Share some data, Mr. Data Man.
Yeah, so Forrester published a really interesting report, cited a couple of interesting statistics. So the next slide will indicate this. This one surprised me a little bit.
Yeah,
So we know that, various levels of adoption are taking place in B2C and B2B companies. But what this data shows is that the adoption rate for Gen AI is much higher in B2B companies than it is in B2C companies. I mean, maybe the point here about the person who's using it 18 times a day is instructive.
right.
But I think most people would have thought, oh, B2C is farther ahead on this than B2B. I don't think so. And Forrester says 89% of people they talk to in B2B are either using or plan to use generative AI tools in the purchase of products or services. In the purchase. So it's almost 3 to 1.
Wow.
And the other piece of data that was kind of fascinating here is that the conversion rates are noticeably higher right now for early chat GPT sales. So if you can go to the next slide, you'll see that chat GPT is holding its own. In fact, it's doing better than that.
Yeah.
The conversion rate is better than direct, better than paid search, better than a bargain.
11.4% from ChatGPT. That's incredible.
Now we're early
Versus,
here. This could
wow.
vacillate. It'll probably regress to the mean and go down a little bit some, but early indicators are that the conversion rates are high, which I think goes against conventional reason, which is now leading us to the last piece here before we have our special guest join us. And next slide is that we believe that B2B sellers are going to have to really up their game
Right.
around search. In particular,
Right.
guided selling is going to be really
Right.
important because the metaphor that's shifting here is people aren't just going to a box and entering something and waiting for a result. They're talking to chatbots, they're using
Right.
facets, etc. So we wanted to get a little more insight into this from somebody in the industry. So we're really thrilled to have Shireen Reed join us today from Coveo. So if we could bring Shireen in, that would be great.
Here she is.
So Shireen is a pro. She's been with us the last couple of years, and we should see how well your predictions have come to pass, Shireen. If we're going to hold everybody
Yeah,
else to speak to the
I'm,
fire.
I'm scared actually. If you go back and look at my track record, hopefully it's on point.
Well, do
Uh,
you agree with us, Shereen? That's the first question.
yes, so always. So thanks for having me, by the way. So the next generation of guided selling. So what does that really mean? I always like to take a step back because I find, that word AI is used a lot and it's thrown around a lot. So I like to kind of break it down a little bit and unpack it. And if we look at just AI in the essence, machine learning, algorithms that predict outcomes, using things like this is typically is for retrieval and ranking of products, recommendations, maybe to deliver some kind of personalization. So typically, and hopefully, most B2B companies right now have that at least powering their search box, right? So that's kind of the basic one. If you look at, you had a stat up there around Gen AI. So generative AI is really around you starting to use those large language models, LLMs, to create like new content. So an example that I like to give always is like, if you summarize product reviews on a website, if you see those little summaries, so that's generative. If you then take it to the next level, which we see popping up on a lot of sites now, is that conversational AI, right? So it's more natural language dialogue. It's
Hmm.
in the realm of AI assistants, intelligent chatbots, those kinds of things that we see around, up and around. And then related to that, we have the new term that probably everybody's sick of hearing already with all the hype is agentic AI. So it's not only able to carry on that intelligent conversation, but it's also able to like reason and act on things. And so we take it a step further, right? So what a buyer is doing wants to do research, products, compare them, and then even buy autonomously. So that's in the realm of agentic AI. So if you lump all this stuff together, definitely agree that product discovery is going to start to look a lot different. It's not just going to be about enabling you to go on a site and searching by SKU and finding the right products. It's really I think going to come down to two big factors. So the first thing that we see is that conversational interfaces are going to start to go native. And what do we mean by that? It means that right now, people are still in this kind of dichotomy where they have a disjointed experience. So they have, your typical product search, your box up there that you can go in and write a product, and then they have these side things, these chat bots on the that you can go in and ask a question, or it's really in a even a separate part of your site sometimes. And I think that you want to start bringing those pieces together, and you want to start being able to either propose products or answer questions without sending your buyers to a separate part of your site.
Hmm.
So I think with the technology maturing as quickly as it is, it's going to be able to understand the nuance between providing a list of products versus when to offer an answer, and also being
Right.
able to keep that conversational context that intermixes products, suggestions, answers, all within a conversation. And if you take that to the extreme,
Mhm.
in an ideal world, you want also your post purchase support to be able to be answered by that same
Yeah.
search box, product discovery box that you have there.
Okay, so Shireen, we have to ask the
Yes.
audience. I know you have another point, so hold it for
Yeah.
1 second. We all think that this is going to change the game. Let's go ahead and pop the poll question, and while you finish your comments, let's ask the audience to chime in. You should see it up here.
Hold my fingers crossed that everybody
Your
agrees
fingers
with
are
me.
crossed that we made the case. The search discovery process will look completely different. Folks,
Yeah.
vote yes or no, whether you agree. Shireen, go ahead and finish your comment while we
Yeah, just
wait for
the
folks.
second part of that is that, we see a merging of product and content,
Mhm.
in especially on the B2B side. And that might be why you see such a high difference between the adoption in B2B and B2C, is because you
Mhm.
have all these technical specifications, compliance, documentation, installation guides, whatever it is that you have, all that rich content. And you need that to become searchable in order to drive that conversational experience, right?
Mhm.
So companies, I think, that start treating that content as a discovery tool versus, an afterthought for marketing purposes, they're really going to be able to provide these rich experiences that mirror really how B2B purchasing is made, right? With the research in advance and the specification validation and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And we have one customer, I wanted to point this out, that has, for example, already has this vision of like one portal for every stage of the customer journey. It's ABB Robotics, and they want their customers to both discover and transact on that place. So you can come in already in their experience and type in something like welding software and get products, or you can ask a more complicated question like, how does my robot studio software interact with my robot seller,
Yeah.
whatever it is that they have.
Cool.
And then be able to get an answer for that. So
That's
the
really
paradigm shift is starting.
Yeah, okay. All right. So let's go ahead and reveal our poll results, see if the audience agrees with us. What did they say? Yes,
Oh,
62%
all
said
right.
yes. All right, 38% said no. So thank you everybody for voting on that. That's interesting. So yes, we got a vote of confidence there. Shireen, thank you. We got to move on to our next prediction, but I think we might see you back here soon. All right, let's go ahead and move on to prediction two. Run it.
All right, so Brian, this is all you, so take it from here.
Yeah, man, I got this one. So upheaval in organic search will catch B2B e-commerce businesses by surprise. What does this mean? Well, organic search is the discovery process, folks. And for years, right, we've talked about SEO optimization, keeping yourself relevant to those buyers in Google and other places. But what's happening, if we go to the next slide, is that the AI answer engines, or AEO, agentic engine optimization, is changing the game. In fact, AI frequency and search results, if you look at the chart on the right, 57% now of searches are including AI results, which means there's no click through, folks. People are looking and getting the answer they need. Exponent 21 found that more than 50% of Google searches now bring back results that include an AI overview. That's double where we were in August 2024. And if you go to the next slide, what's interesting here is that there's a real impact on zero-click search. Zero-click search means, again, no click. Traffic erosion. Look at this stat on the left here. This is from Forrester. Organic traffic has declined roughly 10% in quarter one to quarter two 2025 versus quarter for the same thing a year ago. Amazing. AI trackable traffic metrics are starting to emerge. So if you look at the second stat, trackable AI search referrals growing at more than 40%. And then what's happening also, Andy, this is fascinating to me. What they call, sort of branded search traffic or dark traffic is growing. So we're seeing a more sort of direct traffic, less organic. It's less trackable. So, what are marketers to do about this? So when we ask this question, of course, we need to go and find Mr. Nostradamus himself, Mr. Justin Rinaldi from Traffic Speed oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess up the name of your company's Speed Safety Warehouse. I messed it up again. Justin, give us the name of your company and what you guys do.
And Ronaldo with Safety Speed Manufacturing.
Thank you.
Um, you bet. We make industrial machinery. If you've ever been to a big box store to cut lumber down to fit in your car, we make the panel saws and a bunch of other industrial machinery.
Awesome.
Um,
And you are Nostradamus.
that's correct.
Okay, excellent. So number one question, Justin Rinaldi, do you agree with us? You do SEO, you do all this stuff for your business. Tell us, do you agree with our prediction?
Yeah, I absolutely do. We're in 2025, and it's just crazy how quickly technology is coming at us. A couple things that have happened this year that play right into this is that AI-based search engines, conversational-based search have emerged as true competitors for Google. That's Google has never had a true competitor in the search space, and now companies are kicking tons and tons of money into these conversational-based searches. To the search engines, which is kind of crazy that if we look at the bigger scheme of things, websites and retail stores used to be where people did their information discovery, and now that's where people go after they've made up their minds on what to buy. So that's really that's really put businesses in a spot where the content they serve needs to be one searchable for the search engines, but also consumable for the users. And an area that I've spent a lot of time and resources in here is putting the right content in the right places, making sure that whether it's someone in accounts payable or it's a top level engineer, that they have that information to convert however they prefer.
Yeah.
It's something that we're living in 2025. Our target audience is no longer broken up into very specific audience groups. It's anyone with a cell phone and a credit card. And if you don't have that mindset, you don't have that outlook,
Wow.
You're not going to be able to even get to any of the search crawlers. The common theme that I've noticed this year, a lot of tech companies, providers, is really focusing on that gated content, and the gated content is not actually performing anymore because
Ah,
the search crawlers,
yeah.
the indexers need the content to be able to serve it in their algorithms. And it's
Wow.
yeah, and if we look at how people are consuming media, is it focusing heavily on the video side? If you look at LinkedIn, Instagram, they're all trying to crack how to present short form video because that is the way. That is how people are
Interesting.
consuming media. The problem is, then you look at what Instagram has done and keep shoving more and more ads, and they're driving people off the platform. So businesses are
Wow.
creating gates around their data sets because of the emergence of the conversational based platforms. In 2026, I think we're going to see data privacy wars. We've already seen it with LinkedIn
Hmm. Hmm.
starting to enforce their terms of service, kind of
We noticed.
banning the data scrappers.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's really the what we're looking at in 2026. I think
Man.
that's going to be the wild card is how far will these tech companies go to gate their data and prevent other
So,
search
so
engines.
Brian, Justin took us seriously. He dressed up like Nostradamus, and he actually came up with his own predictions, which is pretty
I
impressive.
love it. Dude,
So,
Justin just gave us so much to chew on. Okay, okay. 1 second, Justin. Let's go ahead and pop the poll because we need to know if you agree with us. We need to know if everyone else agrees with us. So go ahead and vote on the poll. Is this going to change and take everybody by surprise? So go ahead and vote on that. Justin, you just said this is the first time Google's ever had a real competitor. That you basically said gated content is dead. Companies have to change how they're doing marketing, and this is all in the last like 12 months this has occurred. This is incredible. Google has to kind of eat its own business model in some ways, right? What do you
yeah, but
guys
Brian,
do?
be careful about one thing.
Yeah, go.
Google is actually not coming back. We
I
can talk
know, I
about
know,
this at the
I know, I
end,
know, I
but
know, I
go
know.
ahead.
I'm with you. We can debate that one too. Justin, what are you doing about this?
Yeah, we're across the board. We're focusing on how people consume our media, and we're realigning our KPIs to play the long game because we've established that the best type of content for both the data scrapers and for our users is video content. So
Mhm.
we're focusing on attacking the short form and
Right.
breaking up some of our longer content, but we're getting more granular with the content we already have and trying to serve it, continue to build out the content. Pretty
Yep.
much, we're looking inside out is what don't we have on our website that
Yep.
is not a trade secret, that it's a data point, and how do we get that out to the crawlers
Love
to
it.
have
Love it.
access to?
All right, well, we got to leave it there, Justin, for time's sake, but let's go ahead and pop the poll results to see if people agreed. And did they agree? Yes. 88% said yes, that the upheaval in organic search will catch B2B e-commerce businesses by surprise. That's kind of no surprise because B2B e-commerce businesses don't exactly move that fast. So, Justin, congratulations on moving fast and good work, man. And thank you for your appearing with us today. We appreciate Nostradamus being here. You've set the bar high for the rest of our guys. All right, let's keep going. Thank you, Justin. All right, let's go to prediction three.
Prediction three.
All right, Andy, this one's all yours, and it's also related to AI. Go.
Well, it's all interrelated, but yes, B2B e-commerce teams will own the questions and answers to product questions. Justin referred to it.
Yep.
Shireen referred to it. What are we talking about here? Well, on the next slide, you can see there's this acronym called EAT. You know what EAT is, right, Brian?
I do.
Expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. The point of this is that there's a way to create better AI-friendly content. And the one I would highlight here is citing trusted sources, for example, trade publications, analysts like us,
Mm-hmm.
customers. And the number one is product reviews. That's
Interesting.
what this research has shown is the stuff that the AEO engines really like and want to
Yeah.
ingest.
Right.
So what we've predicted is that B2B companies are going to have to invest in things like newsletters. They have to create their own EAT content. And on the next slide, you'll see they don't have a lot of time because we polled this earlier this year and we found 76% of the people polled said that
Yeah.
AEO/GEO was going to overtake SEO. Sorry for all the acronyms within 1 year. So they've got to do this sooner versus later. And we wanted to bring Shireen Reed from Coveo, search and discovery vendor Coveo, back in to get her quick thought on this one because obviously data and search are all interrelated. So if we could bring Shireen back in,
Shireen's here.
Shireen,
Let's go ahead and pop the poll question right at the beginning of this to see if we can get some feedback from everybody. But Shireen, what do you think? Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I mean, people are already starting to think about it ourselves too, internally within Coveo as well. But I think, some of the short-term things that you could look at doing is really understanding how people are searching on your site because they might have already started using some of those longer, more complex queries and asking questions and
Hmm.
using that information to inform where you should be developing out your content and what kind of questions you need to be answering. And another quick and good way to do this is adding an interactive or conversational search capability on your product pages, and that can generate answers. So it's almost like having a sales rep in front of you and asking questions about a product. And those types of questions are like gold, right? They can really drive your content strategy and the things that you need to then expose to something like for GEO, and it can be indexed and then drive people to your site. If they're asking those questions on your site, chances are other customers out there are asking the same thing and want those answers.
Shireen, what about what Justin said regarding video? He said they're investing heavily in short form video to retain relevance. Is that something that you're seeing your customers investing in, or is that a trend you're observing?
Yeah, and well, not so much, but I think that, also short form video, you have the capability of easily creating the transcript from those
Transcripts.
and
Right.
having that transcript then searchable.
Mm.
I know that we're doing that with at Coveo as well.
Yep.
no,
So yeah,
that's exactly true. We had a roundtable yesterday, and people are saying that the video itself is not as useful as the transcript from the video
yeah,
that is now textual and searchable. So let's
yeah.
see, though, since we've talked about
And
this,
update
let's see
everything.
what the yeah. So let's go to the poll results and see what they have to say
Yeah.
on this one because we've had a few conversations about this one so far. So we could see. Okay,
Interesting.
66-34,
Wasn't
yes.
it 66 on the first one? What is
Yeah, it
this?
was. Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep. We paid them. This is all rigged.
Well, we can see the numbers. We can
Yeah.
actually see the numbers behind it, which are state secret. But yeah, the numbers are different. So
I'm
Okay.
kidding, but it's no, but that's interesting. Yeah, B2B e-commerce teams will own this process of product questions. So
well, and
thank you.
you wouldn't think
Go
this is
ahead.
controversial, right? But it is because the
Right.
e-commerce teams have been separated from this. So they're gonna have to
Yes.
start doing content marketing like the
Yeah,
B2C guys
absolutely.
have.
All right, Shereen, thank you again for making another
Thank
quick
you
appearance
guys.
for us. We appreciate your support and input. Let's go to prediction number 4. All right, this is a big one. I'll take this one, Andy. This is all about Amazon business. I live this world with my firm in Seba, as you know. We were just up in Seattle, Andy, and this is some exciting stuff here. It says Amazon business will hit $100 billion in GMV by the end of 2026. $100 billion. They started this thing in 2015. What the heck? So let's share some data. So the latest data from Bank of America predicts, if we go to the next slide, shows that Amazon will, in their opinion, be $83 billion by the end of this year, 2025. Again, these are projections. Amazon Business, the last official number we have is $35 billion. That was a few years ago, 2022, I think. And so, anyhow, this is, so that Wall Street thinks they're going to keep on growing. And they started talking about this publicly, Andy, back about 2 years ago. Amazon was mute. They were not mute. They were not saying anything about Amazon business until their earnings call. I think it was quarter 2 or 3 in 2022. If you go to the next slide, Andy Jassy was talking about, their now more prominent moves into Amazon business. I won't read this whole thing, but the most important aspect of what he said, and Andy Jassy is the CEO, is the last part. We believe we've only scratched the surface on what is possible to date. $100 billion, well, $83 billion this year is only scratching the surface, folks. That is 4.5 times the size of Granger, everyone, for sanity's. for a sanity check. And it's not just office products, it's industrial products, electrical products, HVAC, plumbing, blah, 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 medical, go down the list. So, they're also, Andy, we learned about this at the Reshape conference 2 weeks ago. They're also introducing trucks. So if we go to the next slide, they have their own delivery trucks. And then, of course, we've heard about drones and planes. Now they have, office supplies on demand, all kinds of other supplies. We had a chance to sit down with Natalia Monturi at Reshape. We had her as a guest. If you go to the next slide on our podcast, Friday 15 podcast, and Natalia runs all of the vendor managed inventory programs, their supply services, their replenishment, as well as vending machines. Andy, we learned and we kicked the tires on some vending machines. This is the world of Fastenal and MSC and Ferguson and Hedgeoka and Granger and all the traditional distributors. Amazon Business is now after managed spend, not just tail spend. So we think they're going to cross 100 million next year. Let's bring, sorry, 100 trillion, 100 quadrillion.
Well, by the way, just a quick note here. 100 billion sounds like a big number, but it's only 1% of 10 trillion. And in the US alone, B2B commerce is 10 trillion. So we're only talking about 1%. So these are not like unrealistic numbers, but you're about to say.
It's really true. I mean, if you look at like Cardinal Health is a $130 billion business, right? So, there are very large players in B2B. So as I was about to say, I want to bring in one of our practitioner and community members, Mr. Steve Francis. Steve leads e-commerce and the digital world at Diversitech. Steve, welcome. What does Diversitech do?
Hi, everyone. We are a worldwide manufacturer of HVAC and refrigeration parts, spares, and accessories based in Atlanta in Georgia and Milano in Italy.
Ooh, and you don't make women's shoes. That's excellent. And Steve, you run their e-commerce world, including Amazon, correct?
Yes, I do.
All right. So number one question, do you agree with us?
I think I do. I think I do.
Oh, you
I'm
hesitate.
going to say there's a non-trivial chance that we can get to 100 billion. Andy, you said before, AWS is 117 billion. These guys have put a lot of structural investment behind everything that they have done in the past. You saw the trucks. We all have our inventory in their fulfillment centers. I don't know, 40 to 50% compound growth is aggressive over this time frame, but I feel like if anyone can do it, when you're tripling, it's these guys because they've put all the effort into the infrastructure in the past.
Right. And now they're commercializing it. Let's pop the poll question for everyone while we finish our conversation with Steve. Do you agree with us that Amazon Business will hit 100 billion, Andy, billion dollars in revenue?
It's an interesting point you made too, that you mentioned the word infrastructure a couple of times. I think that's worth noting here. Amazon has its own infrastructure. These other companies have to borrow other people's infrastructure. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think there's an inherent advantage when you have your own trucks and your own planes, your own drones, and you have your own warehouses and et cetera, et cetera. That is a tremendous advantage, if you ask me.
So, Steve, go ahead.
I think if Natalia and her friends are able to report the actual B2B spend, we all buy stuff for businesses without a business account, and then business accounts buy stuff not for business. We get some favorable conditions out there. 2026 looks like a great year.
So what are you doing about it, Steve? You guys are investing in Amazon. You have a fairly sizable channel. Yeah.
Yes. One of the good news is that in our conversations with the Amazon business folks on the 3P side, is that they are putting together some very large quotes inside their business that is relying on 3P seller inventory to fulfill, which I find very interesting, and I'm very pleased about that part of it. I certainly think that, as you said, Brian, tail spend is great, but planned spend is where it's at. And they're coming for it.
Yeah, big time. It's the bigger part of B2B. All right, Mr. Francis, let's see if the world agrees with us. You agree with us? Let's see. Let's take a look. Do they agree? And the answer is yes.
Overwhelming
83%.
yes.
Wow, you guys are friendly today. You're agreeing with us on everything. This is very nice.
It must be as well, because we did not do the best Dr. Evil with 100 billion that we possibly do.
Next time, Steve.
Next time.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your opinion. Thank you, Mr. Steve Francis, for joining us and sharing your support for our prediction, and let's move on now to prediction number 5.
Prediction 5.
And guess what, Andy? This one has something to do with AI also. Go ahead. This one's yours.
Well, yeah, so everybody talks about AI checkout. There's been a lot. We mentioned it earlier, part of the shopping process, but we think something that's been overlooked is AI customer service. We think that's going to be the real breakthrough. I think everybody on this call has had this experience. I know I have, where you've had a conversation either by text or by phone, and you think you're talking to a human. In fact, you think it's a superhuman, and you would be right on the latter one. It's actually a robot. And
Right.
so, just one quick statistic here. Amazon, I know we've been overusing Amazon today, but Amazon announced a couple of months ago
Right.
that you go to the next slide that 250 million of their shoppers are using something called Rufus, which is their AI chatbot, and that um, people who use Rufus are 60% more likely to complete a purchase. Okay, this is not insignificant, and it's added $10 billion
Right.
for them. So maybe we're right about this customer service thing, which, by the way, I would argue it's almost like quasi sales too. That's another
Well,
discussion
sales
for another
service
day.
support, right? It's the chat application is what we're really talking about here, and the intelligence. And so, where is a highly practical use case, right, Andy? And that's really the net of this is we think next year we're going to see a ton of this happening, and you won't even know if you're talking to a human or an AI bot when you're
Well,
chatting,
and
right?
yeah, and by the way, it's not just for simple stuff. So the next
Right.
slide, we pulled this earlier this year and we said,
Right.
hey, are we going to use this stuff for, complex B2B products? And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. And it
Right.
reminds me a lot of e-commerce back in the day when people said nobody's going to buy online. And then it was people are going to buy replacement things. They're not going to buy new stuff. And all that stuff was disproven. And I think AI is heading down the same path. But
Yeah.
let's hear from somebody who's a little closer to this than we are. So we wanted to bring in somebody who's an expert on this. So I'd love to bring in Kingston Duffy, who's the CTO at a company called Navu, and he'll go ahead and tell us what that is. But they're in the chatbot business. So Kingston, welcome. Tell us about Navu and tell us whether you agree or disagree with this prediction.
Yeah, well, I think you guys are on the money here. Uh, Navu's a Silicon Valley startup, and we just started a couple of years ago. And our belief is that, in fact, we're coming in at the bottom of the market, believing that it's not going to be the classic adoption where the big companies do the complicated stuff first. We're starting with the view that it's actually going to start from the bottom up. And our number one belief is just make the damn thing as simple as you can possibly do to get it out there. So
Right.
what we've learned is, just as you were saying, is there's a lot of focus right now in B2B e-commerce. I was talking to a guy last week in mid-sized industrial, and he's saying, "Can you help me with, product selection? We got 10,000 products.
Right.
How's anyone ever going to find the one they want? Even, faceted search doesn't get them there. They need to have a conversation. It's a complicated sale." And we said, "Sure, we'll show you how we just tie you straight into your ERP and your PIM. The AI is just going to learn itself. You don't have to learn anything. You've already done all the work." And he says, "Oh my God, that's great." And I said, "Oh, by the way, what's your strategy for post sales? Like, how do you handle all this stuff?" He said, "Oh, I'm going dead trying to deal with all of these stupid questions like what does the green light mean?" And and people are going to come to the website. They're just going to keep asking these questions. So the light bulb really went off for him is that if you think about it as three phases, pre-sales, fulfillment,
Mm-hmm.
post-sales, post-sales is just a big cost center. And if the AI answers questions, every one of those is a cash register of saved money. And if you think about pre-sales, it's just what you were saying, the 60% number. If you get the answers you need without having to talk to a human, much
Right.
more likely you're going to go move into fulfillment. In the fulfillment stage, ironically, people have worked so hard on making websites really good at just that one step of
Right.
getting stuff into a shopping cart. Sure, the AI is going to be great. Some people are going to say, "Oh, I'll type in a question of add this
Mm-hmm.
to my shopping cart." It matters much actually less than pre-sales and post-sales.
Interesting. Kingston, hang on one sec. Want to finish talking to you? Let's go ahead and pull the poll up and see what people think about this question, whether they agree with us, which is AI checkout is all the rage, but customer service will be the real difference maker next year. Go ahead and vote, folks. So Kingston, tell us more about this. I mean, you guys will plug into a website. In fact, we have your stuff on our own website on Master B2B.
Yeah.
If you go to our website, you can see it working. Of course, we're not selling a product, but so it's interesting that you say it's less about the maybe the shopping or the middle of the fulfillment side, but it's more about the customer service side. So what are the other applications for B2B in this for our audience of distributors and manufacturers?
Well, in fact, about two-thirds of our customers today don't even do fulfillment on their website. If you
Hmm.
think about a lot of B2B today,
Uh-huh.
it's I got to go tell you a long story on my website. I'm going to try to get you in front of a salesperson. And
Hmm.
what we're finding is, oh my God, people don't really want to talk to salespeople, but they do have a lot of conversations about what is the product. And we're just able to take advantage. AIs are so damn smart now. We can point it at your website, and in 5 minutes, and I'm not exaggerating, in 5 minutes, someone can be having a deep conversation about the hardest, most complicated parts of your product. And when
Hmm.
when when we talk to new customers, then we show them that, their heads explode. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to change everything. So, there's some great companies doing some good work. I heard Shireen talking about Covio. I think they're doing some interesting stuff. There's companies, replacing SDRs. There's all kinds of stuff happening.
Wow.
And we're making our bet. And our bet is we're just going to believe that 2 years from now, the corporate website's probably going to look a lot more like ChatGPT than it
Interesting.
does like an old-fashioned website today.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, that's fascinating. Well, let's go ahead and see if the audience agrees with all of us. And let's. Oh, yeah, look at that. They agree with us again. 63% said that AI customer service will be the real breakthrough. Only 37% said,
Boy, just no one likes to disagree with you guys.
I guess
Yeah, I'm
not,
beginning to
man.
think that this is a ringer thing, Brian. I mean,
Maybe.
you
I
told
think.
me we had to pay these people. Oh, I was supposed to mention that, right?
Well, I think all of our commentary guests here are very, very convincing. Kingston, thank you. We appreciate your comment and color on this, and we'll see how the year plays out. Thank you. All right, let's go to our last prediction. Prediction number 6. Run it.
Prediction 6.
All right, Mr. Hoare, this one, you are our special guest because this is your world. B2B e-commerce platforms will face a tough choice by the end of 2026. We have quite a few e-com platforms in our community, Andy, and of course, from a practitioner's perspective, there's a lot of implications about all these changes that are occurring with AI. And we're seeing a large amount of change in the platform landscape. You want to take us through kind of some of those changes?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple ways to look at this. One is that I think we've reached a maturity in the marketplace. I've been following this for 15 years, and
Yeah.
it just feels like we've reached this point where we're gonna have to start seeing some breakthroughs. Now, there's an opportunity for vendors to embrace AI and really remake themselves in the image of AI. But I think there's gonna be a lot of vendors, sadly, a lot of e-commerce platform vendors who are going to talk AI but not do AI.
Right.
And I think what's happening now is we've gotten to the point because it's a mature market, you either have to differentiate or die. I mean, you can't be just a purely horizontal offering. You have to specialize. And I would cite
Interesting.
Big Commerce, which is not called Commerce, as an example. They've really leaned into B2B, but more specifically, they bought a company called Feedonomics,
Right.
and they're going down the path of data. By the way,
Hmm.
so is Salesforce. They acquired Informatica, right? There's a
Right.
there's a there's a kind of a through line here. But for other companies that don't do that, they're going
Yeah.
to have to get very specific, or there's going to be a reckoning for them. There's also the matter of the markets and how half as many companies are now
Hmm.
public, and that puts pressure on money. So
Hmm.
can these companies get funding? Especially if they're not growing quickly. So I think there's a lot of this that's going on, and these are the tough choices. And I want to point out one example in a different space on the next slide, a company called Pros, which some people may be familiar with. It's a price
Yep.
optimization company,
Yep.
public company. They went private.
Hmm.
They were taken private. They were a public company. They weren't doing
Yep.
poorly. It's just that somebody came along and said, we need to remake you guys. Probably in the AI image. I think that's a metaphor for what could be happening here. And
Mm.
then EA was another one that had to do this. Um, that could be happening in the e-commerce space as well. So
Interesting.
my kind of quick take on this is I
Hmm.
think we're going to see separation here. There are going to be companies that embrace this stuff, get funding, and grow. They're
Yeah.
going to find their market, and others are going to have to specialize, probably be acquired by others, maybe taken private, or even be taken over by PE firms to get them on the straight and narrow.
Interesting. And this, Andy, has huge implications for our practitioner community. They're trying to make decisions about who they should partner with. I mean, if a company is changes control, I mean, one of the things that I always, as a VP of e-commerce, would look at is how likely is this company to be acquired? And then all of a sudden, I'm not important to them anymore because they're gobbled up into something else. Now, you run your combine, which is really a great tool to help with this. In fact, if you go to the next slide, I think you're going to talk about a little bit about that. What's changing here?
Yeah, so I evaluate all these companies and I've told them next year is going to be a different animal. I mean, no longer can, I mean, so next year is going to be, I want to see how AI has fundamentally made you because you can't be a tech vendor and not be remade by AI. I mean, has Microsoft not been remade by AI? Has Google
Right.
not been remade by AI? I mean, if all
Right.
these companies are being reinvented in in an AI native kind of environment, how can platform vendors not do the same? And I got to tell you, I hear a lot of rhetoric about this, but I don't see a lot of reality about it. So I put them on notice. Next year, I need to see more than just I need to see more than just happy talk about this stuff. And so kind of last slide here, conclusions that I've drawn about this, what I call the
Yeah.
atmospherics here, is that there's some solid choices, but I've not really seen anything game changing in the last couple of years. I think AI could be that. Time and complexity are just out. Um, Mid-market companies won't tolerate it at all. This is hurt composable a little bit. The
Yeah.
enterprise companies, they have a little more patience for
Yeah.
that kind of thing, but not much.
Hmm.
The biggest issue by far with all these platforms is cost-effective customer acquisition. It's the go-to-market strategy. If I hear one more time somebody tell me about how great their product is, I'm like, great. That doesn't matter at all. If nobody's ever heard of you, or if you can't reach them in a cost-effective way, I don't care if you've got the cure for cancer. It's not going to work. Partners are really critical here. You know this. You've been
Sure.
an
Yep.
SI. If you're a platform without a partner, you're
Yep.
basically not much, especially now. And in the age of AI, it's particularly important. So, like I said, next year, I want to
Yeah.
see AI in these companies. And
Yeah.
I have a bad feeling we're not going to see a lot of companies remake themselves in the age of AI.
Well, let's go ahead and pop the poll question and ask the audience agrees with us relative to this. Will this change occur next year? And Andy, one final question for you on this. I mean, how does this change the game for the practitioner? What do they need to do as they think, what advice would you offer to a VP of e-com at a big manufacturer distributor that's starting the process of making a decision on an e-com platform? Where do they start?
Well, the problem is there's so many moving parts.
Right.
But I think I always start with what are your customers looking to do with you in the next couple of years? Not today,
Right.
but fast forward 3 years. It's 2020, almost 2026. By the year, oh my God, 2029. How do you expect your customers to be buying from you? Are they
Right.
going to be using a ChatGPT interface? Are they going to be
Yeah.
buying everything on Amazon? Are you going to have a website?
Right.
Let's
Right.
go there. Are you going to actually
Of
have a
course they're going to have
freaking
a website.
website?
Come on, they're
But
going
is
to
it
have a
going to be the
website.
prime? We just talked about traffic going down.
I
Are
know.
you going to have a website that's the primary driver of what you're doing? I think for some companies, it will still be the case. Other companies, it may not be the case.
Right.
I don't know. You better figure that one out. And that should drive what kind of technology you're going to buy. Because if you're figuring that most of your stuff, let's say you're a B2C like B2B company, and you expect people to be buying like consumers, and more consumers will be buying through or researching through ChatGPT, for example.
Right.
What use is it to have a great website if you can't reach them, with your content and be
Yeah.
listed in the AEO, right? So it's
Right.
the AEO SEO argument again. So my advice would be figure out who, in a really clear and defined way, who your customers are
Yep.
going to be in 3 years and how you're going to serve them in a sustained, differentiated, competitive way. That's really the hard question to answer.
Emulate Amazon. That's my answer. Because Amazon does that. Exactly what you just said,
Well,
Andy.
they're driven by data too, which is another thing
Customer
companies really
and
struggle
data.
with. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, okay. Well, folks, we've issued a number of predictions here. Let's go see if you agree with us on the last one, number 6. If we strike 100 here. 85% said yes, they agree with us. Look at this, Andy. Everyone agrees with. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
So
everyone.
everyone,
These are real people, by the way.
I
We've got the
know.
numbers here. We can
I
see.
yes, yes. No, this
They're
is
not
great
just
stuff.
numbers. We're not percentages we're piping in here.
That's right.
So
That's right. Well, thanks everyone for voting. We appreciate those who are on today, and we're going to see in a year from now, how we fared. And we'll go back and do the same thing we did at the beginning of this webcast. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We do have a couple quick announcements we want to make you aware of. The first is for those of you who haven't heard of this, this is our Master B2B Nexus program. So if we go ahead and pop that slide open, this is a paid service for practitioners, and it offers on-demand expert advice exclusively for you. It helps you to reduce risk, make better decisions. We have a panel of fantastic experts on call that are practitioners or former practitioners. We also have tools that match you to peers. Find people. I mean, Andy, just yesterday, we had someone ask a question through our Nexus program. Hey, I need someone who has expertise in this particular technology. Within one day, less than a day, we had a number of people for them to talk to about not a really well-known technology. So this is what we can do. You know, we're bringing people together with other experts and people with experience to help you avoid risk and make better decisions. So you can find out more on our website, masterb2b.com. Just look for the Nexus logo at the top. And then we also want to remind folks that we have announced our fourth annual summit. So if you go to the next slide, at the University of Chicago, you can apply to attend. We have a very limited window of complimentary tickets for practitioners still open. So go and register now. We have quite a few people already signed up. We're getting towards capacity. I think we're well more than halfway there. This is March 10th and 11th, 2026. So I encourage you to check that out. You can find out more information on our website. Any potential partners or sponsors that are listening, we do have a few sponsor spots also still available for that. So reach out to Andy or I. Love to talk to you about that. And finally, want to remind everyone that we have our Friday 15 podcast every week on LinkedIn. We broadcast that. It's also available in your favorite podcast service or YouTube or on our website. And please give us ratings and reviews if they are positive. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to that. We have crossed 100 episodes. We have thousands of folks listening to that. So really excited about the kind of ongoing interaction there. So, Andy, any final words before we wrap our predictions for 2026?
just consider this. How much changed in the year 2025? When we started the year and where we are now, just with how many different models of ChatGPT have come out? What did the stock market do? What happened with tariffs?
All of it.
Everything.
Yep.
Why would 2026 be any different?
We're in for a fun year. It's going to be interesting, exciting, and we'll be in the cat seat watching and observing and watching what you all are doing and learning from you as well. So thanks everyone for joining us on our predictions for 2026. We will see you soon on a Friday 15. Take care.